Hello, friends. Let's talk about January 2023. In Japan, a fisherman went out in his boat for fishing. Somewhere in the middle of the sea, he threw the fishing net into the water. After a while, when he was retrieving the fish trapped in his net, he found a strange, long fish. This fish was extremely long, like a snake. Its length was later measured to be almost 6 meters. Its body was sticky and white like rubber. This wasn't a normal fish. It came from the deep sea. It was a deep sea oarfish. Usually, they are found deep in the sea, around 1 kilometer below the surface level. This fisherman released it back into the sea, because according to Japanese legends, spotting an oarfish is a sign of a disaster, especially earthquakes. In 2011, Japan was struck by a devastating earthquake. And just before that earthquake, dead bodies of about 20 oarfish were found on the Japanese coast. But today, these stories are being questioned. Because not only in Japan, but in the last few years, in many places across the world, dead bodies of oarfish have washed up on seashores. In 2023, a fisherman caught 50 oarfish in one go. In 2024, in California, oarfish was spotted thrice. In February 2025, a live oarfish was spotted in Mexico. What are you doing? That's an oarfish. These fishes being spotted so frequently is extremely surprising. Because until a few years ago, spotting oarfish used to be rare. It was only in 2001 that for the first time, a live oarfish was filmed. But it's not just about oarfish. Many such deep-sea creatures are suddenly being spotted at surface level quite frequently. Giant phantom jellyfish is an amazing creature, with ribbon-like tentacles longer than 10 meters. They are usually found 1 to 2 kilometers deep in the ocean. But in Antarctica, they were spotted at the depth of merely 80 meters. There were 2 other such incidents. In Russia, fishermen caught a creature that was believed to be an alien. It was a smooth lumpfish. Its body looks like a brain. Apart from this, about 2,000 meters away from the Spanish coast, a black sea devil anglerfish was spotted at the surface level. This scary-looking fish is called the sea devil. Once again, these 2 types of fish are deep-sea creatures, which have almost never been spotted at the surface level. So obviously, the question arises: what is happening? These deep-sea creatures, humans didn't even know about them for thousands of years. Why are they suddenly coming up to the surface now? About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. We have classified this water mass as different oceans. 97% of the water on Earth is in the 5 main oceans: Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean. 94% of the world's wildlife is found in these oceans. But do you know what? Humans have explored and mapped only 5% of the oceans. The remaining 95%, especially the deep sea, still remains a mystery. Surprisingly, we have better maps of Mars than the ocean floor of the planet we live on. Also, 12 astronauts have spent a total of 300 hours on the moon. But only 3 people, and only for 3 hours, were able to go to the deepest point of the sea, Challenger Deep. When you are at a beach in Goa and look at the blue water, you can see only the topmost layer of the ocean. This is called the sunlight zone, the depth to which sunlight can reach. In this area, the oceanic wildlife is the most colorful and diverse. This is the only layer of the sea where photosynthesis is possible. That is why macroalgae and phytoplankton are found here. These 2 living beings are the basis of the oceanic food chain. Apart from this, in this zone, are most of the things we associate with the ocean. Whales, sharks, turtles, and dolphins. But as we go deeper, it starts getting darker. The water absorbs sunlight. At the depth of 10 meters, only 16% of the sunlight remains. And by 100 meters, only 1% of the sunlight remains. And if we go deeper still, light cannot reach beyond the depth of 1000 meters. This is why it's difficult for humans to see beyond this depth of the ocean. But after the sunlight zone, at the depth of 200 meters, begins the next zone, called the twilight zone. As you know, sunlight encompasses all colors. It is a spectrum of colors. Red has the longest wavelength, and blue and violet have the shortest. Water absorbs the longer wavelengths first. That's why red is the first to disappear. Then orange, yellow, green. And finally blue and violet. Only blue and violet light reaches the twilight zone. All other colors disappear by then. And within this zone, we start seeing the weird creatures. Like this strawberry squid. This squid looks quite like a strawberry. One of its eyes is bigger than the other. The bigger eye helps it see into the water at higher levels that get light. And the smaller eye helps it see bioluminescence in the dark. This squid looks red to us because we see it when it's at shallower depths, in full spectrum light. But if you look at it in the twilight zone where it lives, it will look almost black. Because the color red doesn't reach there. Its color acts as a camouflage in its environment. If you go a bit deeper down the twilight zone, you will find bloody belly-comb jelly. Once again, this looks to be a fluorescent red. In the deep seas, most creatures cannot see the color red. So, to camouflage themselves, they are red in color. When this jellyfish moves, colorful lights flicker on its body. It looks like 8 rows of rainbows moving through the water. Now, you might be wondering, since light cannot reach this deep in the water, how do these lights flicker? This is because of an interesting process called bioluminescence. Through bioluminescence, living beings emit light. This is due to two special chemicals, luciferin and luciferase. When these two chemicals come together, there's a chemical reaction. And the energy emitted by this reaction is emitted as light instead of heat. These deep-sea creatures use this light either to hide themselves, or to attract other creatures, or to communicate with each other.
जैसे कि ये वाला बेहद सुंदर जीव देखिए, देखकर
It looks like a water fairy. It's called sea angel. It's smaller than a human finger. And in the dark, its empty stomach glows. It's completely blind. But this sea angel can turn into a devil within a few seconds. Its quick tentacles help it form a trap, which is impossible to escape. As soon as the prey reaches its stomach, it stops glowing. At the depth of 600 to 800 meters is the barrel-eye fish. Another fascinating fish. Its head is transparent and looks like a dome. Look at it carefully. No other fish resembles it even in the slightest. Looking at it, you will find that its eyes must be the black dots above its nose. But actually, these green bulbs are its eyes. It's interesting that these eyes can only see upwards. So how does it track its food? Scientists theorize that it can somehow rotate its eyes. This feature feels like an alien technology. A living submarine with a transparent dome, with a 360 degrees rotating periscope. If you go deeper into the ocean, you will find this terrifying giant squid. These squids are 13 meters long, equivalent to a 2-story house. The diameter of its eyes is 25 to 30 centimeters, the size of a basketball. These are the largest eyes of any living beings on Earth. adapted to find its prey in the dark waters. Come, let's go deeper. After crossing 1000 meters, the twilight zone ends, and the midnight zone begins. Here, sunlight doesn't reach at all. The creatures which live here often move about between the twilight zone and the midnight zone, like the deep-sea anglerfishes, including the Black Sea Devil. The anglerfish was first popularized in the film Finding Nemo. You might recall this animation. These fish have a fishing pole on their head, with a shiny bulb. They use this bulb to attract their prey in the dark waters. This was shown in the film as well. But the thing that wasn't shown in the film, and one of the weirdest fact about anglerfish, is its reproduction strategy. The male fish are 1/10 the size of the female fish, and their only reason for existence is to reproduce. Once they find a female, they become one with her. And becoming one actually means merging with her body. They start sharing the same blood. And in a way, they become an organ of the female's body. The females collect multiple partners to reproduce. About 6 to 8 males can be found attached to a female body. All of this would have given you an idea. The deep sea is vastly different from life on land. Similarly, we have this vampire squid. This is the last remaining species of its order. All its relatives died 200 million years ago. Now remain as fossils. Its 8 legs are connected to each other by a cloak-like webbing. When they are stretched out, it looks like a vampire's cape. For many years, scientists assumed that vampire squid would be a dangerous predator. But in reality, it is not a bloodsucker. In fact, it eats poop. So, even though vampire squid got a cool name, but it doesn't accurately reflect its behavior. Let's go further down in the depths. At the depth of 2000 to 3000 meters, there is a farmer who grows its own food. This is a yeti crab. This yeti actually exists. Its nickname is yeti because the fur covering its arms reminds us of a yeti. But if you want to know the truth of the yeti from the Himalayas, I have discussed it in this video. But this yeti crab is blind. Its fur is actually bacterial colonies. It farms bacteria on its hairy arms, and then eats those bacteria. And here, specifically, we are talking about sulfide oxidizing bacteria, which grow on it, because it lives near hydrothermal vents. If we go further down, at the depth of 4000 meters, the midnight zone ends, and the abyssal zone begins. It continues till 6000 meters below the surface level. And this zone is still vastly unexplored. The creatures found here aren't found anywhere else on Earth. The Titanic's wreck is present in this zone, around the depth of about 3810 meters. Some creatures living at this depth have been discovered, like this Dumbo octopus. It's named so because of its big ear-like fins, because it reminds us of Disney's flying elephant Dumbo. At no point does it migrate to the levels above. Instead, it spends its life in the deep sea. These Dumbo octopuses are possibly the cutest animals in the deep sea. They swim gracefully and slowly, drawing descriptions like the deep-sea ballerinas. Most of the seafloor is at a depth of 6000 meters. But at some places, the sea is deeper than this. At such places. But the problem is that this would completely destroy the fragile ecosystem of the deep sea. Creatures like the scalyfoot snail, which have survived for millions of years, may go extinct due to these mining activities. Deep-sea mining not only threatens individual species but also disturbs the natural carbon cycle of the ocean. By stirring up sediment and releasing stored carbon, it can accelerate climate change. The International Seabed Authority is currently debating how to regulate deep-sea mining, but many scientists believe that it should be banned entirely. So, the next time you hear about a deep-sea creature appearing near the surface, remember that it might not be a good sign. It could be a warning, a signal that something is going wrong deep below the waves. Our actions on land are affecting even the most hidden and mysterious parts of our planet. If we want to protect these creatures and ensure the balance of our oceans, we need to take action, support conservation efforts, reduce carbon emissions, and push for stricter regulations on deep-sea mining. Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, reducing global efforts to combat climate change. His administration rolled back over 100 environmental regulations, increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Rising ocean temperatures due to climate change disrupt deep-sea ecosystems, leading to mass die-offs or creatures surfacing unnaturally. Modi's government pushed rapid industrialization, leading to increased ocean pollution from factory waste and chemical dumping. India's coastal development projects disrupted marine ecosystems. There are many countries that oppose deep-sea mining. Deep-sea mining remains a highly controversial issue. While some nations and corporations push for its potential economic benefits and resource extraction, others strongly oppose it due to environmental concerns and the unknown long-term impacts on marine ecosystems. Political influences, such as decisions made during the Trump administration and policies under Modi's leadership, have played significant roles in shaping the debate. With many countries resisting deep-sea mining, the future of this industry remains uncertain, balancing between economic interests and ecological responsibility.